A man is taking his passion for kayaking to new lengths and distances and following the path of Lewis and Clark at the same time.
Fox 4 photojournalist Steve Silvestri followed him one paddle stroke at a time on his trek across the Missouri River.
No mud, no mud, no mud, mud. You can't slack off. It's constant work. Listen, I put my granddaughter in that front hatch and paddled her in the ocean, so she didn't like that. I wonder why. Well, I've traveled the three greatest rivers of the United States, and they're all very interesting rivers, but I have to admit that I think the Missouri River is the most beautiful of the three.
He just totally disappeared.
Yeah.
What motivated me is I was impressed by what Stephen Ambrose wrote in Undaunted Courage about the amount of physical endurance that the men had to go through. That's what I'm more interested in replicating and trying to show that modern people still have the capability of doing those things. People upstream as I'm paddling to you, keep the light on for me.
Richard Silvestri marked the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition by starting his trek in St. Charles, Missouri, and ending in North Dakota.
Oh, really?
There's going to be a big catfish down there and gobble your head off.
Oh, my God!
Oh, I'm trying to get a close-up of that. Can you do it again?
Huh?
I was trying to get a close-up of that. Can you do it again?
Yeah, let me rest a little bit. I'm an old man. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Hang on, I just want to check to make sure there's nothing down. Okay, you got it, Steve?
Yep.
All right, that's it.
How many gallons of
Get that
Missouri
one?
did you swallow?
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
All right, then what happens is,
You want him to paddle down there and then paddle back like he's just coming in? You have the key to the van?
Uh-huh. Oh, it's unlocked. Yeah, it's pretty amusing. He says he does camp out on the river. I am going.
that's all kind of, oh really, that's serious though.
I might ask these questions multiple times. So
All right. Maybe it's more like 4,000.
4,000 miles. So
I think each way, I think it's 4,000 miles out to the Pacific, yeah.
So you traveled 1,500 miles.
Over 1,500, right.
And where did you start out at?
Elizabeth, Pennsylvania, which is 23 miles up the Monongahela River from Pittsburgh.
And you started that last year.
It's last year, August 31st, 2003.
And what's it been like?
Well, I've traveled the three greatest rivers of the United States, and they're all very interesting rivers. The Ohio is very industrialized, and the Mississippi has a lot of barge traffic. They both have a lot of barge traffic, but the Mississippi a little bit more. Met some interesting people and saw a lot of wildlife and nice scenery, but I have to admit that I think the Missouri River is the most beautiful of the three.
When Lewis and Clark came through here, they said this was like the Garden of Eden on Earth. Is that kind of your perception?
Well, as far as rivers go, comparison of the three rivers, like I say, yeah, it would be a Garden of Eden when you compare it to the Ohio and the Mississippi.
So a lot of people would want to know what kind of training you have to go through. Is it really tough going upstream in a kayak?
Well, you can't slack off. It's constant work. You have to, it's pretty steady work.
And the weather's been kind of stormy. Have you had any problems with that?
No, I had a couple of thunderstorms coming up on the Missouri. I did pretty good last year on the Ohio. Actually, I was traveling mostly in the fall, and the weather was very nice and dry. But this year I had a few thunderstorms, but nothing really to worry me. I mean, I come from the lightning capital of the world, Florida, so it wasn't too threatening.
And you getting in touch with history on this with Lewis and Clark? I know they didn't travel on a kayak.
No, somewhat. It's hard to focus on all the things that I have to focus on. First of all, traveling safely, trying to pick the best route along the river when you're going upstream, trying to get where the current is the least strong. And then logistical things like food and water and places to camp. There's a lot to think about, so it really is hard to concentrate on the history. But what motivated me is I was impressed by what Stephen Ambrose wrote in Undaunted Courage about the amount of physical endurance that the men had to go through. Basically the enlisted men in the Corps of Discovery and the boatmen, and the amount of work they did and the amount of food that they had to eat in order to do that work. And so that part of it is probably that's what I'm more interested in replicating and trying to show that modern people still have the capability of doing those things, even and someone a little bit older like I am.
So how old are you?
60.
60. That was more for information. So that's basically a word of encouragement for a lot of people. Think once you're over 40, you can't do much.
Absolutely. I think that you have to watch your diet, stay away from smoking, take alcohol in moderation, watch what you eat, get enough rest, avoid stress, exercise. I think that life is beautiful.
And you keep a journal on the way?
Yes, I do.
What kind of things do you write in a journal?
The mileage that I covered, the people that I met, unusual wildlife, any out of the ordinary events that occur during the day. Sometimes I lose my paddle and I have to go back and retrieve it, things like that.
And you also wrote a book, didn't you?
Yes, I wrote a photo essay, actually. It's called A Staten Island Diary.
And what was that about?
Well, it was about my experiences with Staten Island. I paddled around Staten Island, which was a 50-mile round trip, and I did it all in one day, and it was a boyhood dream that I had, and I fulfilled it about 4 years ago in my late 50s. And about a year and a half later, the World Trade Center disaster occurred, and I volunteered to retrieve remains at the hill in Staten Island where they were bringing the debris to bury it and do the final retrieval of human remains. And I worked there for 10 days. So it sort of like tied the two together. The island represented a kayaking challenge to me, and then later it represented a pretty strong emotional situation for me.
So that's true. You're a firefighter, retired?
Yeah, I'm a retired firefighter in the city of Miami, Florida.
And what kind of preparation have you had to do to get ready for this?
Well, just paddle, paddle, paddle. That's, you know, that's what I did. I do a lot of getting in the kayak. Plus, I live in a condo in Florida, and we have a little gym, and I work out, and I jog, and I walk, and I swim, but mostly I train by kayaking.
And what about some of the logistics of this, what you're doing here? What kind of things do you have to do, you know, as far as paddling, how much you do it a day, and where do you go at night?
Well, my goal is to do 15 miles a day, and then when I get close to that 15 miles, I start looking for a good place to camp. And then in consideration with that, I also have to remember how my water supply is and how my food supply is. So I try to find an easy takeout for my kayak that would get me both to a source of water, hopefully you know, city water or well water, of course, or a store, where I could get water and groceries, that type of thing. And occasionally I'll do a break at a restaurant. It's always nice to have somebody else do the cooking for me. But I've also been a guest of some of the kind Missouri people. Jim and Sue Denny down in Lupus had me for dinner and for breakfast, and let me have use of their showers in their home. That was very kind of them. And also the Duffy brothers and with one of the son Scott, with Forrest and Bob and Scott Duffy down in Dover Station. Gave me dinner the other night and treated me very well with coffee and all, and kind hospitality. And I'm just really impressed with the hospitality of Missourians. I think you call them Missourians, have I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he photoed that. Yeah. I gave it. It's laying up there now, though.
That thing right there?
Yeah, the little bilge pump.
Oh, you use your water filter?
Oh, the water. I don't have it with me. Yeah. Yeah, I've drank this water. I filtered the river water, both the Ohio, Mississippi, and Missouri. But it's so muddy, it ruined my filter. You know, it wears it out because you got to clean it, and then. You know, every time you clean it, you wear it down, and I just wore it down to where I can't really safely use it anymore, so I had to buy a new cartridge the other day. So.
Who's got the best tasting water?
Who has the best? When it comes to that filter, it all tastes the same. Very good, you know. Yeah. And Missouri's been extra muddy because of all the rain, I guess, you know. But the Ohio and the Mississippi are muddy rivers too. Don't let anyone kid you.
Okay, oops. Looks like we got a boat coming in. Do you have anything else you can add?
Yeah, people upstream as I'm paddling to you, keep the light on for me. I might need drinking water, and I'll always take a handout of a meal or food or whatever, and place to camp.
Okay, and can you say and spell your name again for me? Didn't catch that.
All right, Richard, or Dick, as everyone calls me, Silvestri. Silvestri.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You got it, Steve? You want me to keep pumping, or you don't care?
Oh, I don't care. Do whatever. I didn't realize they were up there. Yeah, they can. Yeah, go ahead and get it.
Come on down.
Where's your cooler?
What's that?
Where's your cooler?
Hello, folks. Huh?
That's something that.
You know, but it's. I'm doing it all real basic because that's the best way to stay out of trouble. Is not try to do anything too fancy. Are you waiting to go in that boat? I have a son in Boise, Idaho.